Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment. Stories like this don't just get told. They get uncovered. And this one? This one was never meant to see daylight. The alarms were still echoing across the cold concrete yard when Detective Rowan Hale stepped out of the transport van. Sandbriar Correctional Facility towered above him like a fortress carved from storm clouds. Floodlights swept across razor-wire fences, guards shouting orders into the night, radios crackling with agitation. Something had happened inside, something the prison was desperate to contain. They said it was a medical emergency. They said an inmate collapsed. But Rowan had been in this line of work long enough to recognize the tremor in the warden's voice when he called. Something wasn't right. And when a prison that guarded its secrets like gold suddenly asked for outside help, it meant a truth was bleeding through the cracks. The body had been found in cell block D, a section reserved for inmates requiring special monitoring. The victim, Elias Cortez, a man serving time for financial crimes, not violence. A quiet inmate, a name barely known outside court records. Yet the way guards moved around the scene, nervous, whispering, avoiding eye contact, told Rowan they all knew something he didn't. The corridor smelled of bleach and old metal. 2 guards stood by the cell, pale and stiff. Inside, Cortez lay on the floor, eyes open, expression frozen in something between fear and regret. No visible injuries. No signs of a struggle. No blood. A man simply gone. Rowan crouched beside him. When was he last seen alive? A guard swallowed hard. We did checks every hour. He was fine at 8. By 9, he wasn't. Rowan's eyes drifted to the corner of the cell. A faint smear on the wall. Not blood. Something else, gray, powdery, almost like dust from stone. But the walls around it showed no damage. He took a sample. Did Cortez have visitors? Rowan asked. The guards exchanged glances. He wasn't allowed any, one finally said. That didn't make sense. Cortez wasn't a high-risk inmate. So why the restriction? Why isolate a man who was never violent? Rowan stepped back, scanning the room. The bunk was neatly made. A small stack of books on the shelf. And on the floor, half hidden under the bed frame, a folded piece of paper. He reached for it. A note, written in shaky handwriting. They know what I found. If anything happens to me, look inside the walls. Inside the walls. A chill swept down Rowan's spine. Cortez wasn't afraid of another inmate. He wasn't afraid of himself. He was afraid of the very place that caged him. Rowan pocketed the note and stood to leave, but something made him pause. He looked once more at the lifeless man, at the fear etched permanently into his features. Whatever Cortez had discovered, it was big enough to silence him. And if the prison was involved, Rowan knew one thing for certain. They wouldn't stop at one body. As he stepped out of the cell, a guard sprinted down the hall, breathless. Detective, there's something you need to see. We found a locked maintenance door behind Block D, and it wasn't on any blueprint. Rowan's heart hammered. A hidden door. A forgotten room. A prison full of secrets. And when they opened that door, what they found changed everything. The lock on the maintenance door looked ancient, the metal darkened by time and neglect. 2 guards stood beside it, shifting with nervous energy. No one wanted to be the one to explain why a door existed inside a maximum security prison that wasn't listed on any architectural plan. Detective Rowan Hale ran his flashlight along the doorframe.
Rust. Dust.
No fingerprints. Nobody had touched this door in years, maybe decades. But Cortez's note, "Look inside the walls," echoed in his mind like a warning. "Open it," Rowan said quietly. The guard's hands trembled as he fitted the key into the lock. The mechanism groaned, resisting, then gave way with a dull metallic snap. The door opened into a narrow corridor, colder than the rest of the prison. The air smelled stale, like a place forgotten. The walls were made of unfinished concrete, rough and uneven, as if they'd been constructed fast, or without approval. Rowan stepped in first. The corridor led to a small room, barely the size of a cell. Dust coated the floor in a thick layer, except for one irregular pattern, footprints. Fresh ones. Someone's been here, Rowan murmured. Against the far wall sat a metal cabinet. Heavy.
Locked.
A thick chain fastened around it with an industrial padlock. Next to it, a desk covered in old folders, their paper yellowed and brittle. Rowan opened the top folder carefully. Inmates' psychological reports. Dates ranging back nearly 30 years. But the names didn't match any current or historical inmate registry. Warden never mentioned any off-record units, one guard said, voice shaking. Because this wasn't a unit, Rowan replied. It was a program. He flipped another page. Detailed notes about behavioral experiments. Nothing violent, nothing abusive, but invasive enough to raise serious ethical questions. Sleep deprivation studies. Isolation responses. Observational stress tests. Experiments they would never want the public to know took place inside a state facility. But then Rowan found something even more disturbing. A file marked C-17. Elias Cortez. A man who'd only been incarcerated for 18 months, yet his file went back 5 years before his arrest. This isn't possible, Rowan whispered. How could Cortez be part of a study before he had ever entered the prison? One guard backed away. Detective, maybe we shouldn't. A loud crash echoed down the corridor. All 3 men spun around. Someone had closed the maintenance door. They were locked in. Rowan ran to the door, pounding on it. No answer. No footsteps. Nothing but silence on the other side. Then his phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown number. Stop looking. Leave now. Last warning. Rowan stared at the screen. The signal inside the hidden room was weak, barely functional. Whoever sent the message had access to the prison's internal network. It's coming from inside the facility, Rowan said. Someone's monitoring us. Before the guards could respond, a soft click echoed behind them. The padlock on the metal cabinet had fallen to the floor. Unlocked. Rowan swallowed hard. Did either of you touch that? Both guards shook their heads. The cabinet door creaked open on its own, revealing a stack of newer files, crisp, clean, organized. Top folder. Next phase. And, beneath it, surveillance photos. Cortez. 2 guards. The warden. And Rowan Hale himself, taken just hours earlier. Detective, one guard whispered, stepping back. Someone knew you were coming before you even arrived. Rowan stared at the photos, pulse hammering. Cortez hadn't died by accident. He had been silenced. And Rowan had just stepped into the same trap. Rowan stood frozen in front of the surveillance photos, the weight of realization crashing over him like cold water. Someone inside this prison had not only anticipated his arrival, they had documented it. Watched him. Tracked him. Prepared for him. The 2 guards stepped back, their breaths shallow. Detective, what do we do now? Rowan closed the file and steadied his voice. We get out. And we take this with us. But when they turned toward the maintenance door, a faint scraping sound echoed down the hidden corridor. A shadow moved. Slow. Deliberate. Someone was standing just outside. Rowan signaled the guards to stay silent. He approached cautiously, but before he reached the door, it swung open. Warden Merrick stood there. Expression unreadable. Uniform immaculate. Eyes cold. Detective Hale, he said calmly. You've wandered into restricted territory. Cortez died because he found this room, Rowan said. Did you think burying it behind a fake wall would hide what happened here? These files, these names, this entire program was illegal. The warden stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. Careful, he said softly. You're making dangerous assumptions. Rowan held up the file. Your signature is on every one of these reports. Merrick's jaw tightened. I inherited this program. I didn't start it. Then why hide it? The warden exhaled, as if the air itself were heavy. Because shutting it down wasn't an option. Too many people depend on what happens behind these walls. You think this prison survives on state funding alone? You think the board doesn't know? Rowan stared at him. You're telling me this was sanctioned? No, Merrick replied. I'm telling you it was tolerated. Rowan's pulse hammered. The implications were bigger than he imagined. What about Cortez? Rowan asked. Why him? Merrick hesitated. For the first time, something like regret flickered in his eyes. Cortez wasn't supposed to be here. He got curious. Found old documents no one should have seen. He threatened to expose everything. So you silenced him. Not me, the warden said quietly. Someone else inside the program. Someone much higher than my pay grade. And now that you've seen this, they won't let you walk out either. Rowan felt the room shrink around him. I'm not leaving without the truth. Merrick looked at him with something between pity and fear. Detective, the truth is the most dangerous thing in this building. Before Rowan could respond, gunshots echoed from somewhere deeper in the prison. Shouting. Footsteps running. Alarms blaring. The warden's radio crackled. Code Black in Cell Block D. Unidentified intruder. Armed. Merrick's face drained of color. They're here already. Who? Rowan demanded. The people who want those files, Merrick replied. And they will kill anyone in the way. The guards panicked. Rowan grabbed the cabinet files and moved toward the exit. We need to get out of this wing.
Now.
But as they reached the doorway, Rowan's phone buzzed again. Another message from the block number. Too late. The lights in the hidden corridor flickered, then went dark. The sound of heavy boots approached. The final text arrived. You should have stayed out of the walls. Rowan lowered the phone, breath trembling. They thought the secrets of this prison were buried forever. They were wrong. But as the footsteps drew closer, one haunting truth settled over him like ice. Some cases were never meant to be solved. And some walls never meant to be opened. If you think this story was intense, Rowan whispered to himself in the darkness, you're not ready for the next one.